It's your tour guide around the SWAC Wells.
How long the tour bus, so let's go. Wednesday and Sunday out when you can take the tour.
Hop on now, we starting out. Texas land, the Panthers shout. Tigers roar in deserts drought. What's that whisper? Ain't no doubt. Next to Boot got Jacks to see. More tigers prowling, making others flee. Arkansas, a quick short spree. Golden Lions, they run free.
How long the tour bus, so let's go. Wednesday and Sunday out when you can take the tour.
We love the sip, so we raising cheers. Delta doubles, fueling fears. Braves and Tigers through the years. Echo loud in crowded spheres. Swing through Bama, hear them call. Hornets buzzing, stand up tall. Bulldogs barking in the hall. Feel the rhythm break or fall. Sunshine State, we ending last. Rattlers creeping, moving fast. Join the chorus, make it blast. Cats past and future, hold it fast. SWAC stories on the stage. Every chapter turning page.
All right, everybody, what's going on? How y'all doing? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I am your tour guide around the SWAC Wells coming at you, and we are gonna continue our series, taking a look at the SWAC standings. Today we're looking at the standings after Monday's action, the men's games that took place Monday. So we're gonna look at how the standings shape up after those games. We only have 2 games. Most teams have 2 games left. A few teams have 1 game left. So Thursday and Saturday are the last games of the season. So we are in the crunch time, man. You know, we'll have one more show like this on Friday, sometime Friday evening, most likely, where we break down the standings after Thursday's games. And then Sunday will be our tournament preview. So we are in the end days and end game of SWAC basketball. So we're gonna go ahead and get into it. Make sure y'all check out my socials: Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. Don't forget to like the video, comment, and share your thoughts. And also just shout out, man, the Urban Edge Network and HBCU Plus for showing a lot of love. So shout out to them. Like I said, like the video, comment, and share, and just hit that subscribe button and let me know your thoughts on what's going on with the season. We got just about everything settled. Still got a couple things to just kind of figure out. So this show is not as confusing as the other one. So let's go ahead and get right into this, man. We're not going to waste no more time. Take a look at the standings as they are. First, Southern clinched a share of the SWAC title yesterday with the victory of FAMU. They are 14-2, 19-10 overall. They are back on the winning track after losing to Bethune-Cookman. Jackson State, second place, 12-4, 12-17 overall. They've won 4 games in a row. Bethune-Cookman, 12-5, 15-15 overall. They've won 4 games in a row. Texas Southern back on the winning track, 11-6, 14-16 overall. They've won 1. Bama State, 10-6, 14-15 overall. They've won 1. FAMU, 10-7, 13-15 overall. They've lost 1. Alcorn, 9-7, 9-20 overall. They've lost 1. Alabama A&M, 6-10, 10-19 overall. They've lost 1. Grambling, 6-10, 9-20 overall. They've lost 3. Prairie View, 4-13, 5-25 overall. They've lost 2 games in a row. Pine Bluff, 3-13, 6-23 overall. They've won 1. And Valley is 1-15, 3-26 overall. They've lost 7 games in a row. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this shapes up. And I'm going to do like I've been doing. We're going to use teamrankings.com to kind of give an idea of how they think the season will finish out in terms of predicted wins and losses. So we're gonna go ahead and get into that as well, and then we'll kind of take a look at some of the teams who may be an opponent for the SWAC because we are most likely going to be in the first four. So we're going to take a look at some of the teams who are potential first four candidates, and we'll go from there. So starting at the bottom, as usual, Valley is 1-15. They have a game against Alcorn on Thursday, Jackson State on Saturday. They are eliminated. There's no way that they can catch up with Prairie View, who is in the 10th spot. They win those. If Valley found a way to win those two games, they would finish 3-15, which would still keep them out because Prairie View has one game left. So they have one game left. So there's no way that they can catch them. So we're gonna not worry about them anymore. Pine Bluff is at number 11. They're 3-13 overall. They're a half game behind Prairie View, who is 4-13. So they're a half game out of the 10th spot. They still have an opportunity. They get Jackson State on Thursday, Alcorn on Saturday. They basically win the tiebreaker over Prairie View by virtue of their record against the teams ahead of them. These two teams split their season series. They both won by 11. They both won by the exact same score. So that makes the point differential 0. And because of that, that means you go to the team who has the best record against the higher seeds, and you have to get down to Texas Southern before you get a win by either one of these teams. Pine Bluff's victory over TSU gives them the edge in this tiebreaker. But first and foremost, they need to win at least 1 out of 2 to get to that situation. They lose both, it's over. If they found a way to win both, they would still most likely be in no matter what Prairie View did because of that tiebreaker. But first and foremost, they need to win one of their last 2 games. They're both at home. They did surprise TSU at home, so maybe with a little extra incentive, the team could get in. If they can find a way to still win these 2 games, but not really forecasting that. Looking at what TeamRankings.com has to say about these guys, they right now they're projecting the Golden Lions to finish with a record of 3 and they're predicting to finish basically 3-15 or 4-14, depending on how you look at it. If you want to round that up. So they are projecting them to steal one of these games, but I don't really see it. They obviously projecting Valley to finish 1-17 and lose their last couple of games. But they projecting Pine Bluff to maybe steal one of these games and sneak in. But right now, it all starts with that. They have to find a way to get that win before they even get into any other scenarios. So speaking of Prairie View, right now they are number 10. They're 4-13. They get Texas Southern at home to close out the season. They need they either need to win this game or have Pine Bluff lose both of their games. Obviously, if you had a choice, you want to win to go into the tournament with some momentum. But TSU is a very tough team, and they're going to be playing for some tournament seedings. So they're not going to come in there overlooking you. So it's a possibility that Prairie View goes into the tournament on a streak of basically losing basically like 13 out of their last 14 games. So they could go in very cold, and they are very thin in terms of depth. So this is one of those situations where I don't really think going to 10 teams is a good thing. You're getting a team coming into the tournament who doesn't really have a lot of life left. They've had a rough season. Maybe they pack it in at the end, and then they got to go play in the tournament, and who knows what happens. So right now they are the 10th spot, and primarily I think they're going to hold that spot because I think Pine Bluff is in a position where they have two tough games, and I don't really think they're going to win either one of them. And they predicting Prairie View to finish 4-14, so they're predicting them to lose this last game and finish 4-14. The 8th and 9th spots are pretty much secure. The only thing is, they could flip-flop depending on results of a couple games. We'll start with number 9, and that's Alabama A&M. They're 6-10. They do play Grambling on Thursday, so that's a big game for them. They need to beat Grambling by at least 12 to win the tiebreaker. Tigers beat them in Huntsville by 11 points, so they need to win at Grambling by 12 or more to win that tiebreaker. So winning that game will put you at 7-10 and drop Grambling to 6-11, which would put you at the 8th spot. There's no, you're 3 games behind the 7th place team with only 2 games left for most teams, so there's no way you can catch them. So moving up past 8 is not a option for either one of these teams. So they're pretty much stuck in that 8 and 9 spot. Now, if Alabama and them found, if they lost out and Prairie View found a way to, Prairie View couldn't. Never mind. Like I said, this stuff is so crazy because Prairie View is 4-13. So even with a win, they would be 5-13. So these 2 teams are basically solidified at 8 and 9. Now, where they finish at 8 and 9 is going to depend on each team. So, that matchup on Thursday is probably going to decide the 8 and 9 seed teams. Right now, A&M needs to beat Grambling by 12 to get that spot. Bulldogs lose out; they finish 6-12, and they're 9th place regardless. Grambling went out; they're 8-10. They 8th place regardless. A&M went out. Grambling would obviously lose 1 game. A&M will be 8-10. Grambling will be 7-11. So the winner of this game on Thursday between Bulldogs and Tigers is probably going to finish in the 8th spot. So that is a big game in terms of that. It's not, it's not really a huge difference because, with the tournament being a neutral site, you don't have to go on the road or nothing like that. It's only basically determining what color jersey you wear. You got to play in that play either way. So, these 2 teams are going to see each other on Thursday. Then they're going to see each other in the first round or whatever you want to call it of the tournament. So both teams 6-10 and both teams have a huge game against each other on Thursday that they both need to win. Obviously, only one can win. Winner most likely will be number 8, and then loser number 9. Both these teams are predicted to finish. Grambling predicted to finish 7-11. Bulldogs predicted to finish 6-12. So they have Grambling beating Alabama A&M and losing to Bama State. And then they have Alabama and them losing both of their remaining 2 games. So they're basically putting Grambling at the 8th spot and them at the 9th spot. Now we get to pretty much where the logjam is. Now it's been creeping up and down all season. And now the logjam is basically it's basically, I don't know if you want to call it logjam, but there's still a couple ties that need to be broken. But right now, Alcorn is 9-7. They're in the 7th seed. They get Valley on Thursday, Pine Bluff on Saturday. If there's any team I think that can benefit the most from this weekend in terms of movement, it's Alcorn. If the Braves win both of their games, they finish 11-7. And depending on what Bama State does, if Bama State loses a game and finishes 11-7, Alcorn has the tiebreaker over them. FAMU, if they win against Bethune-Cookman and finish 11-7, a 3-way tie would probably put Alcorn, at 6th spot because Bama State would come out a 3-way tie put Alcorn at 7. So they need to basically tie with Bama State to move up, but they can move up as high as 5 or so, depending on how things go. So this is a big weekend for them. Like I said, there are 2 games that they definitely have manageable, winnable games. They're on the road, but these are 2 teams that they should beat. They don't, like I said, they don't really have a lot of tiebreakers in their pocket. The only 2 they have are Bethune-Cookman, which they can't catch them because they have 5 losses and they only have 1 game left. And Bama State, who they beat in their only matchup. So TSU, they got swept. FAMU got swept. So they kind of need to avoid those teams. But if losses happen, then the factor of them ending up there is going to be pretty high. Looking at FAMU at 6, they have 1 game left against Bethune-Cookman. Again, they have the tiebreaker over FAMU, over Texas Southern and Alcorn. They got swept by Bama State, so they have 2 tiebreakers in their pocket. If they beat Bethune-Cookman, they're 11-7. That's probably going to put you at fifth or so, depending on again what Bama State does. If Bama State wins out, then they're 12-6. If they lose one out of two, they're 11-7. If they lose out, they're 10-8. If FAMU loses, they're 10-8, and most likely would drop below Grambling. So they can end up in this play-in tournament, in this play-in game, and that, that's only by basically losing 3 out of their last 4 games. That puts them in a position where they really need to win this game against Bethune-Cookman. It's on the road, so Moore is a tough place to play, and the Wildcats are still playing for something. So and it's a rivalry, so they're not gonna ease up. But a win for FAMU keeps them, at least in the 6th spot. A loss puts you at 10-8, and depending on what Bama State does, that could put you, in 7th. If you finish tied with Bama State anywhere, you're going to be below them because they swept you. So even if Bama State finished 10-8 and FAMU finished 10-8, then Bama State would win that tiebreaker. So let's say Alcorn went 11-7, and Bama State and A&M both went 10-8. FAMU would be the 7th seed. Alabama State would be the 6th seed, and Alcorn would be the 5th seed. So Alcorn, like I said, they do have a good opportunity to jump up a couple spots and get out of that play-in game. FAMU has the opportunity to kind of do the same, and vice versa, dropping into the play-in game. So there's still a lot of movement for both of these teams. These teams probably have the most to gain and lose out of everybody that's left in the race. Right now, they're projecting FAMU to finish with a record of 10-8, so they are projecting them to lose to Bethune-Cookman, and they got Alcorn picked to finish 11-7. So they do have the Braves winning out, and so they have them finishing in at least 6th place. So FAMU, by these projections, would be the 7th seed and would play in the play-in game to get into the tournament. So that basically puts us, at Bama State, even though we kind of talked about them a little bit. They're 10-6. They're 5th place right now. They're a half game behind 4th place Texas Southern. They get Southern and Grambling both on the road. They beat Southern by 1 at home. They lost to Grambling by 10 at home. So, mixed results. But, both of these matchups will be tough on the road. You find a way to win one of the two, you're 11-7. And, most likely you're going to finish tied with Alcorn. And by virtue of that, you lost to Alcorn, so you would finish below them. So either 1-1 finish probably puts you at 6th place, no matter what FAMU does, because FAMU didn't beat you. So a win, 2 wins puts you at 12-6, and probably tied with TSU, depending on what they do. I think they would beat Purview, but you never can tell. Especially in that last game of the season, but both of those teams finished 12-6. TSU wins that tiebreaker. So Alabama State most likely is going to be no higher than 5th. Not a lot of room to drop for them, maybe 6th. So they're going to be a 5 or 6 seed most likely. I don't really see them finishing anywhere lower than that. It's going to be tough for them to drop to 7 unless they lose both of their games. And then they finish below FAMU and Alcorn. So they can drop to 7 if they go 0-2 and FAMU wins and Alcorn wins out. So, they still have some positive momentum, and they still have opportunity to move up at least 2, maintaining that 5 spot, but not really that much higher than that. They're being projected to finish 11-7, so they are predicted to go 1-1. On this road trip, which is basically all you ever ask for. But the opportunity to maybe jump in front of TSU if they lost is still there. So the opportunity to move up to 4th place is still there. It's probably an outside shot, but it's still there. But most likely they're going to be the 5th seed, and they probably are going to play TSU in the tournament, who's right now 4th. They're off on Thursday. They get Purview on Saturday. Again, you beat the Panthers, you finish 12-6, and no matter what Bama State does, you're the 4th seed because you beat them in the season series 1-0. So a win, and you're basically locked into the 4th seed. a loss, then it just depends on what Bama State does, because you could drop a couple spots. Like if you finish 11-7, fam, you finish 11-7, and Alcorn finished 11-7, fam, you would actually finish fifth because they beat both of these teams in the season series. So Alcorn beat Texas, TSU beat Alcorn. So in that scenario, fam, you would be fifth. Alcorn would be seventh, and TSU would be sixth. So the Tigers can probably drop no lower than sixth place, and most likely they're going to be locked into that fourth spot, because I do think they're going to beat Prairie View and finish at 12-6. And like I said, no matter what Bama State does, they're still going to be the fourth spot. So I think the Tigers will be the fourth spot. I think the Hornets will be the fifth spot, and these two teams will play each other in the first round of the tournament. They do have the Tigers projected to finish 12-6, so they have them winning against the Panthers. That takes us to number 3, Bethune-Cookman. They're 12-5. It's interesting if they do lose. They finished 12-6, but they beat Texas Southern in their only matchup, so they would still be third, even at 12-6, even at a 12-6 tie. Now, if you throw Bama State in the mix, still they have the edge there because they swept Bama State. So Bethune-Cookman is basically locked into the third spot. Now they could move up. They could move up if some kind of way Jackson State lost both of those games and finished 12-6. And they finished 13-5. But I don't see that. I don't see them losing the Valley or Pine Bluff. Bethune is off on Thursday. They play FAMU on Saturday. So they lost the season series to Jackson State. So a tie with JSU at like 13-5 would not help them. And the only other thing that you can look at is if you said Jackson State lost to Pine Bluff and Valley, which again I don't see that happening. They finished 12-6. Let's say Bethune is 12-6. Let's say TSU is 12-6. Bama State 12-6. You got a lot of chaos there, and that would be really hard to shake out. I think in that scenario, I think Jackson State would get that because they will have a better record over everybody. So right now, I do think Jackson State is the 2 seed unless something crazy happens. So Bethune is basically locked into the 3 seed. Jackson State is basically locked into the 2 seed, and the Tigers are projected to finish 14-4, so they are predicted to win out. And Bethune-Cookman is predicted to finish 13-5, so they predicted to beat FAMU. And that leaves us with Southern, who clinched the regular season, at least a share of the title. They clinched that yesterday, so they're the one seed no matter what happens in their final 2 games, by virtue of having the tiebreak over Jackson State. So they are the 1 seed in the tournament, and they are predicted to finish 16-2. So they are projected to win out in the regular season to head into the tournament as the overall 1 seed, and having that first game off, so to speak. Looking at the odds to win the tournament, Southern right now has a 32% chance of winning the tournament. Jackson State 17, Bethune 14.7, Texas Southern 12.6, Bama State 9.7, Alcorn 4.5, Florida A&M 4.4, Grambling 3.9. So there are, like I said, I do think all 8 of those teams do have a legit chance of winning the tournament. It all comes down to matchups and basically depth, because if you're playing from that playing game, then you're going to have to play 4 games and 4 games to get there. You will have 1 game where you probably have to turn around and play, and the other team doesn't. So that's going to test your depth. Of course, free throw shooting is always big in tournaments, and defense is always big in tournaments. So teams that play good defense and shoot free throws well are always going to be favorites in my book. And that's really one of the questions I have about Southern, because they're not a good free throw shooting team, but they do play good defense. So, that may balance out, but it could bite them. So right now, if the tournament started today, Prairie View is the 10th seed, Alabama A&M is the 9 seed, Grambling the 8th seed. FAMU would be Alcorn would be the 7th seed, FAMU 6, Alabama State 5, Texas Southern 4, Bethune 3, Jackson State 2, Southern 1. So our first matchups will be number 10, Prairie View against number 7, Alcorn, and number 8, Grambling against number 9, Alabama A&M. You will have number 6, FAMU against number 3, Bethune-Cookman. That's a very interesting matchup. And then 4 and 5 would be Texas Southern and Alcorn, Alabama State. So that's basically how the tournament shapes up. Let's kind of take a look at like I said, we was looking at some of the teams who possibly could be first four opponents if the SWAC ends up there. And all indications are looking that way. Bryant is a name that had been coming up a lot. They're 13-2 in the America East. They're projected to finish 14-2, so they predicted to win their last game and win the regular season at 14-2. They have obviously a 98% chance of winning the conference because unless they finish tied with Vermont, I don't know a tiebreaker in that scenario, but they are predicted to win it. They have a 51% chance of winning the conference tournament. Vermont has a 23% chance, Maine 12.5, Albany 4.5, 4.4, Binghamton 1.2, and UMass Lowell 5.6. So with this tournament being at conference sites, at campus sites, which starts on Saturday, March 8th, Bryant would have all the games at home if they continue to win. That always gives those teams an edge. So you always pretty much look at those teams as being teams to win a tournament playing at home, basically, because they typically, don't lose at home. Next up, we have the Metro Atlantic Conference, the MAC. Quinnipiac is projected to win the conference. They projected to finish 15-5, 80% chance of winning. Marist was a team who was up there at the start, but now they dropped to second and projected to finish 14-6. They have an 18% chance of winning the tournament. Merrimack is a team who is definitely an interesting candidate. They have a 20% chance of winning the tournament. I think they're eligible to make it. Just want to be clear. But they have a high chance of winning. They have a high chance of winning their tournament, which for a 3 seed to have a 20% chance, that's pretty strong. They probably drop a game or two that they probably shouldn't have, but they are eligible for the tournament. So that's another name you might want to keep an eye out on, especially with having a percentage that high. This tournament starts on March 11th and runs to the 15th, and it's played in Atlantic City, so all neutral sites. And that's one of the reasons why those teams all have pretty decent chances of making it. Also, Southeast Missouri out of the Ohio Valley. That's another name that has been coming up. They're 15-5. They won the regular season already. They have a 32% chance of winning the tournament. SIU Edwardsville has a 28% chance of winning the tournament. Arkansas Little Rock 16.5. Tennessee State 13.2%. So this is a pretty balanced tournament. Everybody has at least 5 losses in this conference, so there's a lot of parity in this conference. Nobody ran away with it. So you have a lot of teams with chances to win this tournament. It's played in Evansville, Indiana, starts on March 5th. So that's tomorrow. The tournament starts tomorrow, ends on Saturday. So we'll know who comes out of that by the end of the SWAC play. Also, the Patriot League starts tonight. All these games are campus sites. Bucknell will be the number 1 seed. They won the conference by virtue, I think, of beating American. They're 13-5. Both of them are 13-5. So Bucknell will win the tournament or win the conference. They get home games. This tournament, I looked it up earlier. The number one team has won this tournament like 8 out of the last 11 times or something like that. So they're basically as much of a lock as you can get. They're a 40% chance of winning this tournament. American has a 20% chance. Colgate has a 16% chance. Boston U has a 7.5% chance. Navy 5.9. A team I do want to throw out there that I doubt they win it, but it'd be great if they did, and that's Army. Army's never been to the tournament. They're like one of the original Division I NCAA teams, and they never been to the tournament. So if that was a team to get in, obviously they straight to the first four. But that would be a good team. Now this is another conference that has a lot of parity. There are 4 teams that are 10-8, and the top 2 teams are 13-5. So there's nobody that ran away with this. And so even though it's played at home for Bucknell, that's probably going to be the only edge that they have. Because other than that, this tournament is wide open because so many teams have won it. It starts, like I said, tonight and it ends on March 12th. They basically have a couple of days in between every game as these teams travel from site to site. And finally, we have the Summit League. That tournament starts on March 5th and runs to March 9th, and that's being played in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I think Omaha is the team who still is the winner of the championship. They finished 13-3. They only have a 9% chance of winning the tournament. That's really interesting to me. That the team that won the conference doesn't have the highest odds to win the tournament. St. Thomas has a 26% chance of winning the tournament. They are not eligible to make the tournament. They're still in that transition, so they're ineligible to make it. So if they won, I think whoever they play in the tournament championship will go. So that could be a chance for a team like Omaha to get in. South Dakota State has the highest odds to win at 29.7%. They win 11-5 in conference, and South Dakota State is 10-6. North Dakota State is 10-6, and they have a 21% chance of winning. So there is a good, strong group of teams that have a great chance of winning this tournament. So this should be a very competitive tournament. Typically, it's one that does have some upsets in it, and the team that comes out of it is typically a pretty solid team. And like I said, this tournament starts tomorrow and runs through March 9th. So that's another one to keep an eye on. And of course, the SWAC tournament runs from March 11th to March 15th in Atlanta. And so that's going to do it for us, man. Like I said, we have one more of these shows coming at you Friday. And then Sunday, we'll start to preview the tournaments. So y'all buckle up, man. We got 2 games of this left, and we ready to get it done. So with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC C-Well signing out, and I will catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.